Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar about the Amsterdam Primary School Lottery. If you don't live in Amsterdam, then you really don't need to worry about this because it's a very specific issue for Amsterdam and a few more cities. But before we start, I'll tell you a little bit about Nu2nl. So Nu2nl is my business that I started in 2013, so 9.5 years ago to be exact. And I give advice to international parents about education in the Netherlands. I give one-on-one advice, I give webinars like these, I write articles about the Dutch education system, I accompany my clients on school visits, I also attend political debates and info sessions about schools. So I'm really well involved in what happens in the world of education in the Netherlands. I'm based in Amsterdam. I live with my American husband and our 2 children. You see the children in the top right picture. Were a bit smaller than they were in Philadelphia, where my in-laws are from. Now, actually, the oldest is already going to secondary school, so that's a whole new life. And I will give a separate webinar about that. And the younger one is in group 7 of primary school. But enough about me, because what you came for tonight is the lottery webinar, right? This is the website that you'll really need a lot. And hopefully you have already encountered this website. It's called schoolwijzer.amsterdam.nl. And they've partly translated it into English. Still, it is a bit confusing, and I'll take you through all the steps. How it all works, they have explained in 5 steps. It starts with the start. So what you do here is you type in your address and the date of birth of your child, and then you click on View Schools. And then on the next page, you will see the list of schools that are close to the address that you typed in. It's very important to know that there are 2 different lotteries in Amsterdam, to make it extra complicated. We are first talking about the Central Lottery, and that is also what this website is about. For the Central Lottery, you have priority for the 8 schools that are closest to your house. That is very important to remember because it really makes a big difference for your application. So on the next page, you get to see the list of the schools, and the ones marked in blue that say priority school, that is where you have priority. You also see some schools that are marked with own scheme in gray. They are the so-called eenpitter schools, and they have their own application procedure. We talk about them later. You should have 8 schools that are marked in blue. As some schools, they have 2 different locations. In that case, you can list one location or both, up to you. It can also be that you have priority for one location, but not for the other one. On this page, you also see other information. So you see the distance from your house to the school, whether it's a religious school, or if they are based on educational philosophy. With that, they mean, for example, Montessori or Waldorf or Dalton or Jenaplan. Some schools, they are art magnet school, or they have a stronger focus on science and technology. I have to add about the religious school that most of the schools are not really religious. So most religious schools, they're more religious in name than in practice. However, this varies per school. So you should always ask the school if they are indeed religious and what they do in terms of religion. So in most cases, they don't pray, they don't say grace, they don't go to church, but there are some exceptions. You have priority for 8 schools. If you're not religious, you shouldn't immediately disregard the religious schools, and just talk with them and see if that could work for you or not. If you click on map, then you will see the map of the area of Amsterdam. In blue, you see the schools where you have priority. And if you click on the school name, then you will see some more information. So it starts with a dot. That's like a traffic light system, and they represent the inspection ratings. So a green dot is that the inspection found everything to be okay. Orange means they were a bit weak, and red means very weak. Luckily, a lot of schools that used to be orange or red, they have improved a lot. And now most schools are green. It can also be that you see a gray dot, and that means there's no recent inspection report. then you could check with the school board. So most of the schools, they belong to a bigger board with multiple schools. So maybe the inspection has researched the school board, or maybe some other schools that are similar to this one. And then on this page, you can also see the average distance of the students of the schools. So that's of the whole population. When it's a very large distance, then there must be a particular reason that parents are prepared to commute, usually by bike, for so long. So maybe they have a specific philosophy, or they have a special program that's very unique. So that tells you a lot about the school. And when the average distance is very small, then it's probably really a neighborhood school. And most Dutch schools are neighborhood schools, and children go to school on foot or by bike. There are some exceptions, so that's also good to know here. And if you live further away from the school and most children really live close by, how would that go with play dates and other gatherings? Will you be outsider? So that information is very important to ask as well. And then in the next graph, you can see the number of pupils attending this particular school, and you can see what the minimum and the maximum sizes are. So about 300 to 350 students is pretty average. That's pretty small compared to a lot of countries, but that is what you can expect in Amsterdam. It can change over time. So when you click on more information, then you see the development. So what you see happening in Amsterdam is that especially families who have 2 or more children, they leave the city, they also leave the school then, and then they have new places left. That could be the reason if you see that the number is declining. But there could be other reasons as well, of course. Then on this page, you can also see if the school is connected to a preschool. If they are connected to preschool, then they also show the names. It's very important to know that in most cases, the connection with the preschool doesn't give you any priority to the primary school. The only exception are schools that are called IKC, which stands for Integrated Child Center. So then they all work together. And some of the eenpitter schools that we talk about later, they also give priority to their students from the preschool. But the regular schools, they don't. Only when a child has a VBE indication. And a VBE indication is for children who risk to be behind because of the language. In the past, they used to give this VBE indication to international parents who didn't speak Dutch at home, but now they have made it a bit stricter. So now it's only for children who speak already 3 or more languages at home, and then Dutch would be added on top of that, or children who have a language delay in their home languages, or when the parents are lower educated and don't have a strong vocabulary, so they cannot really help their children a lot, and they don't offer them what they call a language-rich environment. So those could be reasons for VBE indication. And then they give priority to the children from the preschool to the primary school to ensure more smooth transition. Step 3, how to apply. There are 3 lotteries per year, and it really depends on your child's date of birth. So you can only apply once. And the next lottery deadline is on the 3rd of November. And that is for children who were born in 2019, between the 1st of May and the 31st of August. For older children, they've unfortunately missed the lottery. So then you should call the schools one by one and ask if they still have a place. So they only have a place if they were not full after the lottery, or if some children maybe in the meantime have cancelled their application or have moved away. When children are younger, then you have to wait until their lottery deadline. So the next one for the younger group is in March, and then there's another one in June. It doesn't matter when you submit your form, provided it is before the deadline. But it doesn't matter if you do it today or on the day of the deadline, your chances are the same. Okay, we have talked about the lottery, but what does it actually mean? Well, there's some schools that are oversubscribed. They receive too many applications. And then the municipality has decided it's the most fair, or how I call it, the least unfair to give everyone an equal chance of getting a place. So they put all the names of the children who have applied in the computer. If there's too many applications compared to the number of places available, then the computer will pick the names randomly from the children who will be placed. But there are some priority rules. So first they look at siblings. So if you already have an older child at the school, then your younger child will get a guaranteed spot. You still have to hand in the form, but then your younger child does not need to take part in a lottery. So they have a guaranteed spot. Like I mentioned before, the children from the preschool, so with the VWE indication, or the children who go to IKC school, they get placed then, so after the siblings. Then the children of staff get a place, and then the children who live in a priority area, you get equal priority for the 8 schools that are closest to your house. So it doesn't matter if it's next door or the furthest one, your priority is the same. And then if there's still places available, then the other children, so who live outside of the priority area, might get a place. So this means you can put schools on your list where you don't have priority, but your chances will be smaller there compared to the children who do live closer by. If you really cannot come up to 5 schools, which is the minimum that they ask for, then it's safer to put a school on your list that's not in your priority area compared to a school that is in your priority area but that you don't really like, because you risk to enroll at that school, and that's a bit of a shame if you don't really like it. This is how the form looks like. If you have lived in Amsterdam for a bit, then you should have received this form by snail mail, so on paper. It's a pretty simple form. So you fill in your personal details, your address. In case of divorced parents, you have to indicate which address the child lives. Then in the boxes, you tick the priority criteria we just talked about. So the siblings or IKC, VWE. And then you list at least 5 schools in order of your preference. You may list up to 10, but 5 is really the minimum. If you have an older child at the school, then you only put in number 1, the name of the school from your older child. So that's about it. And then this form you have to bring in person to the first school of your preference. And then this school will put all the details in the computer. They will also list the other schools that you have put on your list. And then they will send you a confirmation email. So make sure that you write down your email very clearly on this form. And they should send you confirmation within a few days. So if you have not received the confirmation, then first check your spam filters. And if it's not there, then call the school. Within about 2 weeks, you will get the outcome of the lottery. And you will get usually an email, but sometimes a letter from the school where your child has been placed. So if you're lucky, you get an email from the same school where you handed in the form, but it could also be one of the other schools on your list. So that is all explained in step 4. And then step 5 is off to school. There is still some time in between, because the lottery is around age 3 years and 2 months, and most children, they start school the day after their 4th birthday. So that means they start throughout the year. So you don't wait till the beginning of the school year. When your child is approaching age 4, then you will get usually email or maybe a phone call from the teacher to discuss with you the start date and how it works and what they need to bring. In this YouTube video, I put a link in here as well. I explain how the start of school works, and also some more information that's useful to know. But it's only after the lottery, after your child has been accepted. It's important to know that when you get the confirmation email where your child has been placed, you need to tell them that you're still interested, because it could be, like we see on the next slide, that you have also applied in the lottery for eenpitter school, because that is a separate lottery. And the eenpitter schools are 10 schools, of which 9 in Amsterdam South and 1 in the center, that's ASFO. And they have their own school board. So they're still funded by the government, so they're not private schools like some international people think. But they have their own board, which usually consists of parents or foundation that started the school, and they can make their own rules up to a certain extent, of course. And they've decided they don't agree with the policy of the municipality, and they have their own policy. Usually it has to do with a different catchment area. So some of those eenpitter schools have very small catchment areas, and maybe just one postcode, and others have a bigger catchment area. You will find the catchment areas on the website of the individual schools. And there's no central website for the eenpitter schools. So I copied here the catchment area of the Amsterdam Montessori school. That is pretty wide area, but some are much smaller. So what's also different is that they have their own application form, which you find on the website of the eenpitter schools, and they have their own deadline. The coming deadline is the 6th of October, so that's for the same age group as the central lottery. So usually they're about 1 month before the central lottery. So what happens, so 6th of October is already this Thursday. You take part in the eenpitter lottery. On the form you have to put the other eenpitter schools if you're interested. But most of them are small schools, they're pretty popular, and they have a lot of siblings. So your chances are pretty low that you get any eenpitter school, but who knows? Then they ask you to confirm your spot. So then you should say yes. Then you take part in a central lottery in November. And then if you're lucky, you get both your number one schools. So first for the eenpitter and then through the central lottery. Then you have to decide which one you like best. Maybe you want to visit them again, or talk some more with the principal, whatever makes you feel more comfortable. And then you should cancel the other school again. It doesn't cost you anything, but they really need to know that your child is not coming, so they can give the spot to another child. But that happens a lot. So if you don't get at your number one school through the central lottery, you could always call them immediately after you got the letter that says before when you have to confirm. Because maybe some parents didn't confirm the central school, but they went to eenpitter school instead. And then they have a place available for your child. So always try. A lot can happen still until your child turns 4. And then from age 5, children are obliged to go to school. So your child doesn't have to start at age 4. However, most children will go to school when they're 4. So yeah, there will not be many play dates for your child during the day then. And the daycare and preschools, they stop at age 4. So realistically, most children start at age 4. So that is how the lottery works. Of course, there's a lot more to tell. If you want to know which schools are oversubscribed or how to rank your schools on the list, you could contact me and I could help you with that. If you take the all-inclusive package, so then you first have about 1.5 hour video call about all types of education and your preferences and your wishes and everything that's important for you. Then I'll explain a lot about the schools that could be suitable for you. If you already have an address, then we'll talk about the schools closer to your house. If you don't have an address yet, then we could talk about different areas or different cities rather. And I'll write a report about the schools so you can compare. I'll help you with the application and I'll contact the schools to ask if they have availability and everything in between. If you write down on the form that you will get a link to when you book the call, that you have attended this webinar, then you get 15% discount. So don't forget. I also offer other packages if you just have a few questions. So just check the family page on the website for more information. And then we have the Q&A. So I hope everything has been clear. I'll check the questions. If you don't have received a form, I think I forgot to tell it. My apologies. I also put a link on the page. Can I find it quickly? Because there's also a blank form that you can download. So this is the form. Here below on this link, then you will find the blank form. And the form that you receive from the municipality has already pre-printed your address and the date of birth of your child. On this blank form, there's nothing pre-printed. So then you need to bring proof of address. So it can either be rental or purchase contract, and also proof of your child's date of birth, and that can be a passport, for example. So if you don't bring proof of address, then they don't know that you really live there, and you will not get priority for any school. So that's really important to bring that. Yeah, you will find a form here on this page. Any other questions? Okay, this family, they don't know yet if they will indeed live in Amsterdam and maybe also Haarlem and Utrecht and Amstelveen. Their child is approaching 3 years. So what to do then? Yeah, that's a very good question, because you can take part in the lottery, but like I said, if you don't have an address, then you don't get any priority. So if you manage to have an address before your deadline, and it sounds like if your child is not 3 yet, that your deadline will be in March. So if you have an address in Amsterdam before March, then you could take part in the lottery. If not, then you should call the schools, and preferably before the lottery. So if they have a place, they can reserve it for you and they don't give away the place in the lottery. Or if you move to the other places, then you should really check in advance how it goes, because in Haarlem they also have a lottery, and usually that is a bit later than Amsterdam, so about age 3.5. But check to make sure. In Utrecht, they also have a lottery since recently. It's also around age 3, so you should be in time for that as well. Amstelveen is a bit more difficult, because first you had to apply from age 2. Now they're moving it to age 3. There's no lottery, but it's whoever applies first at the school, they get a place. So some schools are already full, others are not, but they are usually not the schools that are very popular, but it also depends on where you live. So before you settle on a house in Amstelveen, really make sure to call the schools if there is still availability. Because if not, then you could be sent to a school in a different area of Amstelveen. It's also important to know that no school is obliged to take your children. So I know in some countries, if you live in zone A, then you apply to school A, and if you live in zone B, then you apply to school B. It does not work like that here. So if the school is full, they're full. So before you settle on a house, check how the schools work, if there's a school that you like nearby, and if they still have a place. Then a question about other webinars. Yeah, I have a longer webinar in which I explain about the Dutch education system, and another one about the differences between Dutch and international schools. Also, like I mentioned before, about secondary schools. And I've also recorded some videos about different subjects related to education. So if you go to my website, u2nl.com, or to my YouTube, then you will find a lot of information and videos and articles and podcasts and everything you will find there. If you have any other questions, then my contact details are on this slide, and you're very welcome to ask them. I don't see any new questions here. So thank you for attending. Good luck with the lottery. I'll keep my fingers crossed. And I would really appreciate if you would let me know which school you got a place and that was your first choice or not. And like I said, if you have any further questions, then feel free to contact me. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.